Historically, Texas's ineffective and costly criminal justice approach had created massive over-incarceration. It has also led to the over-representation of certain populations in our prisons and jails, specifically people suffering from substance abuse and mental health problems, people of color, the indigent, and people who have been wrongfully convicted. It was clear that the system was broken and needed to be fixed. Many families and individuals felt victimized by the failed criminal justice system, but they lacked effective means of supporting reform. Meanwhile, a growing number of civil rights groups were becoming aware of Texas's criminal justice crisis, and they began calling for greater scrutiny of criminal justice practices. However, due to Texas being as large as it is, there was little or no communication between advocates and organizations working on the same issue. Eventually, advocates saw the benefit of a network through which they could share information and strategies, as well as the need for a forum through which they could collaborate for change. The Texas Criminal Justice Coalition, or TCJC, set out to fill this vacuum. We worked to bring related organizations together to support them in strategic planning and networking, engaging in collective action, and build power to effect progressive change. Our mission is to identify and advance real solutions to the problems facing Texas's juvenile and criminal justice systems. We conduct policy research and analysis, form effective partnerships, and educate key stakeholders to promote effective management, accountability, and best practices that increase public safety and preserve human and civil rights. TCJC's primary end goal is to decrease the state's wasteful over-reliance on incarceration, especially of low-level, nonviolent individuals. We also seek to create avenues to success for troubled youth and their families. In the short term, TCJC is working to identify and promote safe, responsible solutions that focus on reducing criminal behavior and streamlining criminal and juvenile justice practices. We're doing so by concentrating on specific policy areas. First, access to defense and smarter pretrial policies for all individuals facing criminal trials. Second, fair and effective youth justice. We advocate for community-based alternatives to incarceration for youth caught up in the system, as well as access to treatment and programming for youth who are incarcerated or on probation to address the root causes of their behavior. Third, we concentrate on effective, cost-efficient sentencing practices so that the state won't continue to waste money warehousing nonviolent individuals, and so that more people have access to rehabilitation programs that work. Fourth, TCJC is concentrating on successful and lasting re-entry into our communities, so each individual returning from prison can become an asset, not a liability to the community. Lastly, TCJC is concentrating on common sense immigration, advocating for humane policies that promote a robust Texas economy, strengthen families, encourage integration of newcomers, and provide the well-being of all Texans over the long term. TCJC seeks to achieve the systemic changes we've been fighting for. Texas needs structural reform that will prevent future policies and practices from forcing so many youth and adults into confinement. This will require a united advocacy voice and effort among broad group of organizations as well as individuals. Ultimately, we must better educate Texans about how criminal justice impacts other such issues of interest like education, employment, and healthcare. We must close gaps in Texans' understanding of various issues' interconnectedness to achieve true success, both for TCJC, but most importantly for those we advocate on behalf of. To accomplish these goals, TCJC must strengthen our own organizational capacity to meet the needs of Texans impacted by the system. Specifically, We must increase TCJC's visibility so that a wider range of people are aware of the critical improvements that must be made to Texas's criminal and juvenile justice systems. We must expand our support base even further, and we must continue to engage in effective public education and advocacy. TCJC works. We've built strong, trusting relationships with advocates and with practitioners in the juvenile and criminal justice systems to ensure our advocacy efforts are leading to the real solutions. These are folks who are working on the ground, who know where the system inefficiencies are, and who are making key decisions. We also work with currently and previously incarcerated individuals as well as their families to get the true perspective of what's going on inside prison and jail walls. TCJC's collaborative efforts have helped us get stakeholder buy-in of our proposals, and it has given us a better picture of their obstacles in implementing their own proposals or improving the lives of their loved ones in the system. Over the past several years and through strong coalition building, TCJC has helped drive the passage of nearly 90 policies, supported by lawmakers and advocates from both sides of the aisle, that have improved the lives of thousands of Texans. These policies span juvenile and criminal justice reforms, resulting in fewer youth and adults entering confinement, and a greater emphasis on rehabilitation. Furthermore, we've seen reinvestment in diversion have saved taxpayers more than $2.7 billion, and we've seen an 18% drop in crime rate between 2003 and 2010. With your investment in TCJC, we will continue to advance the systemic reforms that will bring about smart, humane, cost-effective criminal and juvenile justice solutions that will last for years to come. In addition to developing strong relationships with practitioners and advocates, we engage in various strategies throughout all of our program efforts that have been highly effective in bringing about change. For instance, we do not only strengthen but also keep our base continually educated and informed. In every opportunity, we seek to increase number of individuals and organizations who want to partner with us. But we also strive to keep this base constantly informed and engaged, including through our monthly newsletters and action alerts. Our base can rely on us for up-to-date information about our work, brief policy analysis, key report findings, and media discussing our issue areas. This helps us get our supporters buy-in, which makes their prioritization of criminal and juvenile justice reforms more likely. We also provide timely information to key stakeholders who seek us for information. By providing accurate, nonpartisan research, timely recommendations, and public safety-driven messages, we've emerged as a respected, sought-after advocate of justice reform in Texas. Separately, we know when it is effective to be at the forefront of a particular strategy and when it is better for the reform effort to take the role behind the scenes. If TCJC is not necessarily the best messenger for a particular audience, we try to identify those messengers and provide them with talking points and information to further our recommendations. Next, we keep the media appraised of all criminal and juvenile justice-related policies, practices, and implementation processes. We truly view the media as a partner in the community, and we rely on them to keep reform dialogue in the minds of the public and key leadership. We also continually monitor the pulse of our opposition. This largely includes district attorneys and other proponents of an ineffective and costly approach to juvenile and criminal justice. Where possible, we make efforts to meet with our opposition and gauge why they reject various solutions that we support. By addressing potential concerns as early in the reform process as possible, we can determine areas to improve. as well as acceptable compromises that will achieve specific goals without sacrificing the integrity of our mission. The benchmarks by which TCJC evaluates our activities include the following. First, our collaboration with key stakeholders, including agency leadership, policymakers, county commissioners, and advocates, ensuring positive new reforms are fully understood and implemented, as well as helping them preserve money for programs that reduce criminal behavior. Where data collection and analysis allow, we also keep track of the actual number of individuals who positively benefit from our recommendations, like the number of people being diverted from incarceration into treatment. We also measure successes like the production of useful educational materials to support smart on crime strategies, our ability to improve our inmate and family assistance, the expansion of our support base, including unlikely allies who support smart, effective criminal and juvenile justice solutions, our ability to educate the media about the impact of our work, and the degree of outreach we conduct to make criminal and juvenile justice reform even more of a priority at the national, state, and local levels. TCJC uses a campaign-style approach to our public education and policy advocacy, which is a major contributor to our success. This includes polling, targeted messaging, and selecting particular messengers for particular topics. But it also means cultivating many messengers on the single topic to better ensure that decision makers prioritize that reform. Some people might assume that since we work on progressive areas, we're only able to work or build solid relationships with policymakers and other leadership who subscribe to progressive ideas. Actually, we've worked very successfully with folks on both sides of the aisle, including Mark Levin of the Texas Public Policy Foundation. The reforms we seek are not partisan. They make economic sense, and they strive to increase public safety for all Texans. For instance, we've made significant progress in areas of probation and diversions, which would not have been possible without the support of both Republicans and Democrats. Although TCJC's focus is primarily in Texas, we've recently sought out to assist practitioners in California with large-scale shifts in their criminal justice system. TCJC has always offered assistance where necessary when advocates or practitioners in other states seek us out for guidance on how we've accomplished our reforms in Texas. TCJC has a proven recognized track record of success in policy reform. Since our inception, TCJC has expanded its role from a primarily educational, coalition-building grassroots organization into a provider of technical consultation to policymakers and others that make and implement key decisions affecting our juvenile and criminal justice systems. And these systems have gone through major periods of change, with ineffective and inhumane strategies slowly being replaced by more smart-on-crime alternatives like treatment and diversions throughout the past decade. Although various factors have at times slowed the reform process, including budget crisis as well as strong prosecutorial lobby, we have overcome these and many other challenges. Here are a few of notable successes we've achieved in our project areas in recent years, which have had a significant impact on the large criminal and juvenile justice systems in Texas. In 2007, TCJC was instrumental in shaping unanimously passed omnibus reform legislation, which sought to address problems with the turbulent juvenile justice system, and which has reduced the number of confined youth by half. We've worked to improve Texas's probation and parole systems, as well as increase alternatives to incarceration to stop the flow into prisons, making it possible for Texas to close its first prison in 2011. We were the only entity in the state compiling and analyzing racial profiling data from every Texas law enforcement agency from 2002 through 2008. We engaged in a massive public education campaign to win support for a critical policy, which is now effective, that ensures that defendants facing jail time understand that they have the right to an attorney, have an opportunity to request the assistance of an attorney prior to talking to a prosecutor, and have the option of seeking an attorney on their own without losing the opportunity to request appointed counsel if they cannot afford to hire an attorney. We helped to usher in historic reentry reforms in 2009 and 2011. Through our public education work, bipartisan policymakers showed their support for some major recommendations, such as the creation of a comprehensive reintegration program for returning individuals and a statewide reentry task force on which we sit. And TCJC recently created a Common Sense Immigration Project in partnership with the Trust Coalition to support the humane treatment of immigrants. Each of these accomplishments has had a significant positive impact on Texas's criminal and juvenile justice systems. With continued investment in TCJC, we will strive to push for further reforms to improve the lives of all Texans. TCJC has encountered various obstacles to our reform efforts. First and foremost, budget crisis. In 2011 specifically, Texas budget shortfall was projected at as much as $28 billion. However, TCJC has been strategic in our public education efforts, emphasizing the fiscal and public safety benefits of our policies and practices we have long promoted. Next, we face political pushback. TCJC has historically faced opposition to our reforms from a few but very vocal district attorneys and some members of the Texas legislature who are invested in maintaining the status quo. Third, TCJC has faced geographical limitations in our reform efforts. Very simply, Texas poses a very basic logistical problem. Its size makes it difficult for advocates to attend key hearings and events, and act as liaisons between groups who operate hundreds of miles from each other. In addition, many coalition members and advocates are volunteers, which limits their time and ability to participate in reform efforts. Finally, a small donor base and limited staff are an ongoing challenge to the scope and depth of services that TCJC is able to provide. However, our staff is committed to working collectively to accomplish project and grant goals, and I am so proud at how tirelessly they work on behalf of our organization and, in turn, all Texans. With additional resources, TCJC would continue to bolster our current projects through designated support. We must continue to conduct and disseminate exemplary, original, nonpartisan research which offers the counter perspective to research produced by special interest groups promoting the status quo. We must also expand our county-level efforts, currently focused in Harris County only, to assist each of Texas's 254 counties with the fullest implementation of the state-level reforms we seek. With additional resources, we would hire staff to fulfill critical goals, beginning with communications and grant and donor development. We must ensure that the external world has a clear and consistent and compelling picture of TCJC, what we stand for, why we're important, and why we are a strong investment. More resources would also help us solidify our organizational reserves. This is vital to our long-term stability and sustainability. Reserves would help us achieve planned goals for growth, allow rapid responses to unique programmatic opportunities, and ensure staffing stability between grant funding. This will help us remain competitive in our public education and policy efforts in Texas and achieve the systematic changes we've been fighting for throughout the past decade. In addition to the current work we do, TCJC has contemplated 2 additional areas that we could realistically branch into based on our criminal and juvenile justice goals if given additional resources. First, we would like to hire designated staff to effectively respond to the high volume of calls and letters we receive daily from individuals seeking our help. Secondly, we would love to provide experts to offer low-cost or no-cost certified trainings to system practitioners on better ways to assist the individuals they serve, to better benefit the entire criminal and juvenile justice system, including victims and their families.